Preview. It is Tamworth against Tottenham, a glamour tie for Tamworth in the FA Cup, and this is a Tamworth side who are National League North champions last year, who got promoted to the National League. They're currently sitting in 16th place.
You're saying they got more silverware than us? Is that what
pretty much? That is exactly what I'm saying. Actually, they're currently sitting in 16th place in the National League with 30 points. Looks like, how many have they scored and conceded?
26 goals.
So they've scored 26 and conceded 41. So they're a team who don't have the greatest defence and don't have the greatest attack.
Not on the best form either, it seems.
Yeah, on poor form as well. But I think it's... You can't really
happen at the Lamb Ground.
You can't really take form into account. I mean, I know it's like David versus Goliath in this game, but when you're looking at Tamworth, like, there's no form to really go on, because they're gonna... This is a one-off game, and they're just gonna give it their complete all and do their best to try and just get a goal in this game. Never mind get a result.
It's a capacity of 4,065 Lamb Ground.
There'll be, I think, 650 or 750 travelling Spurs fans going down there. Obviously, we're going to be on the watch along, but yeah, a real glamour tie for Tamworth. I just love these David versus Goliath battles in the FA Cup, and you're usually rooting for David, but in this instance, I'm definitely going to be rooting for Goliath. But what has gone wrong with Spurs in the FA Cup, man? Like 1991, record holders, 8th time, and since then, you're talking, we used to be like one of the best FA Cup teams, the best FA Cup teams. And now we've let the teams like Man City overtake us, Arsenal overtake us, Man United overtake us, Chelsea like all these teams. And they've got like many more FA Cups than us. It's not even just like one or two, where you're looking at, 25 years ago, we were the record holders.
We had we still on 8 FA Cups, which is still a pretty good total. But yeah, we've been completely leapfrogged by a number of clubs because we haven't won a trophy. We haven't won it since '91. What can I say? It's not specific to the FA Cup. It's just Tottenham in general have not won many trophies in the last 30 years, and we all know the reasons why. But to be fair, in terms of the FA Cup specifically, I mean, we haven't reached a final, I think, since we won it. But I think, how many semi-finals have we reached? Probably I would say about 5 or 6.
Since 91, we got the semi-final in 92, 93, semi-final 94, 95, semi-final 98, 99, semi-final 09, 10.
We lost to Portsmouth.
Yeah. 11, 12, we got to the semi-final. 16, 17, 17, 18, and that's the last time we got to the semi-final.
7 semi-finals we've been in that time. Which actually, as a record, 7 semi-finals in 30 years, that's like... one every 3 years, nearly.
Yeah.
Kind of, just
7 semi-finals, but 0 finals.
Yeah, 0 finals. I'm saying, but it's not like we never have the opportunity to get there. Like, we've been fairly consistently getting to a semi-final, but can't seem to get over that line. We clearly got a psychological problem. Even like that game when we played Portsmouth, I remember Portsmouth going into that game, they had like players who couldn't even play because like they played them. They had to like pay the money, which they couldn't afford. So there was questions whether like they were in crisis and disarray. They even got relegated that season, and we still lost that game. Like the semi-final against Chelsea, we were playing brilliantly, and then they had that ghost goal given where the ball didn't go over the line, and the referee blew his whistle for the goal, and it completely screwed us over. So we've had our moments, and we've been very unlucky. The Chelsea one under Pochettino, we lost 4-2, but again, a very strong performance, and just ended on the wrong side of it. So sometimes been unlucky, but sometimes we just haven't been good enough. When we lost to Man United, the most recent one, probably weren't good enough in that game really, despite taking the lead. When we played Portsmouth, we weren't good enough on that day. In the ones in the 90s, I think we just buckled under the pressure. So definitely it's a psychological issue with Spurs. But what's our best showing then since the last semi-final? Because that was a while ago now.
So we've been really poor in the FA Cup since that semi-final against Manchester United, like really poor. So the year after, we got to the 5th round and lost to Norwich. Then we got to the 5th round and lost to Everton. Then the 5th round lost to Middlesbrough. The 5th round lost to Sheffield United. And then last year we went out in the 4th round to Man City. So, I mean, you're looking at the kind of clubs that we're going out to, bar Man City since then. I mean, it's been nothing short of embarrassing, really.
I remember that 5-4 was a crazy game, and we should have won that. But
still, like, it just plays into all the other years.
Yeah, Middlesbrough and Sheffield United, I was both under Conte. Those are both really embarrassing results. just didn't turn up on the day, even though we know the cups are very important for us. Like, that was a real disgrace. We rested players and we absolutely paid the price for it, and it was embarrassing performances. So, look, obviously none of these teams are on the level of Tamworth, but we've got some things to put right when it comes to the FA Cup, 100%. At least in the League Cup, we've reached some finals, and obviously the last trophy we won, but since then we've reached how many, 2 finals since then?
Yeah.
And probably a few semi-finals on top of that. So we've done a bit of a better record in the League Cup recently, but the FA Cup is just, we've got nowhere near it the last few years.
You know, there seems to be, or there used to be, a narrative, I don't know if it's still there anymore, about the FA Cup and about the League Cup and about how the FA Cup is, you know, so much bigger than the League Cup. But I feel like that's changing a little bit, and I feel like the FA Cup, you know, there used to be, like, when I was growing up, or, you know, the magic of the FA Cup and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like that's gone out the game a little bit. And I feel like the League Cup and the FA Cup are kind of like on a level standing now.
I don't think they're on level standing. I think the FA Cup is still better. But what I would say is, because the FA Cup's been a bit diminished, in a weird way, that's kind of brought the League Cup up just by that fact. But because they've gotten closer in importance, it's actually given more importance to the League Cup just because they've gotten closer. So it means that, like, there's a bit more prestige winning the League Cup because people know that it's actually not too dissimilar to winning the FA Cup. I still think people put a bit more stock in the FA Cup, and I think people still, it's a competition, still want to win. And I think there's some still brilliant stories in it. There's still some magic to it. But I think compared to how it was maybe in the 90s and early 2000s, where it was in England anyway, like everyone used to crowd around watching the FA Cup. No one used to rest players in the FA Cup. It was probably people used to rest players for the FA Cup back in the day, instead of now where you've got bigger clubs resting players in this competition for Premier League games and probably European games now and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely diminished a bit. I still think it's a really good competition. I still think competition people want to win, but I do agree the League Cup and the FA Cup are still have gotten closer over the years, especially as well in the League Cup. You can clearly see the bigger clubs are taken a lot more seriously. You know, City are pretty much winning it every year. I mean, who's won the League Cup who's not City or Liverpool, like, or United over the last 10 years? Like, I can't remember.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're looking at how big Man City have been over the last 10 years and how seriously they've taken the tournament, I think that's helped bringing up the stature of the League Cup.
Yeah, agreed. That too. Yeah. So, but I'm not to say FA Cup's not a big tournament, and I think
of course it is. No, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that the League Cup has raised to its level.
I think it's I think the FA Cup has gone down a bit, and I think the League Cup's raised a bit because the FA. It's a weird thing. It's because the FA Cup's gone down a bit. It's raised the League Cup just naturally because of that. Because they're now tight. You can now take them as seriously as each other.
Yeah, and like, I just think the League Cups, I think both the tournaments, you know, are very good. And look, I'm desperate to do something big in the FA Cup this season. It's just so long overdue. Like I said, it's been like 5 or 6 years since Spurs have gone past the 5th round, which is crazy to think of. So it's really important that we take this game seriously, because if you don't take this game seriously and the players on the pitch are not up for it, then you're talking about a potential of a real big embarrassment, and one of the biggest FA Cup embarrassments pretty much ever.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a bigger one if we were to lose this one.
Yeah.
In recent memory anyway. I can't think of a team as low as Tamworth in the National League being a side as high as Tottenham and as much resources and as big, basically. I know Tottenham won the FA Cup as a non-league team, but that was back in 1901.
Yeah.
So, very different landscape, I would say, probably back then.
What about when, in the 90s, didn't Chesterfield get to the final or the semi-final?
They got to the semi-final, Chesterfield. I don't know who they beat along the way, but I remember, I think it wasn't Sean Dyche playing for them, I think.
I don't know if he was playing for them. I remember they did play Chelsea. I think they lost to Chelsea in the semi-final.
There was one year where Barnsley got quite far. They beat Chelsea and they beat Liverpool in consecutive games, but they were, I think, a League 2 team or a League 1 team, so still not as big as a National League team winning. So, yeah, I think it's definitely in the last. Yeah, I think it probably would be the biggest FA Cup show ever. I would say, if this was to be able to pull this off. Albeit, I remember, I think Man United got a replay. I can't remember. I think it was against Exeter, who were a non-league side back then. They drew 0-0 at Old Trafford, but then they ended up losing the replay.
That's true. Maidstone beat Ipswich last season. But Ipswich were in the Championship then.
And again, this isn't Ipswich was the Championship, and it's not as big as Tamworth versus Spurs. I'm not saying it's not big. There was also a few years ago, The year Sutton got to the quarters, there was another team.
They beat Burnley.
There was another team who beat Burnley. I can't remember who it was.
Wasn't it them?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't them. It was another team that beat Burnley. There were 2 non-league teams in the quarters that year, which was unbelievable. But only one of them beat a Premier League team, and that was Burnley. So again, not as big as beating Spurs.
And actually, Sutton on that day when they had the pie-eating keeper on the sidelines, didn't they give Arsenal quite a game until when Arsenal just took control and then ended up smashing them? But
I think they only finished 2-0 in the end.
So, I mean, if you don't take this game seriously and the players are not up for it on the pitch, then it really is. If the players just go onto the pitch and assuming that they've won it before they step onto it and don't have the right mentality, it's a massive potential banana skin.
I mean, it could be a potential massive embarrassment, 100%. I think the main difference when you come up in these games is obviously the quality's obviously going to be there when we're a Premier League team, but actually the big difference is physically. Because obviously I don't know if a lot of these players might have second jobs or one. I don't know if they must be full time at National League level. I don't know. Maybe some of them have second jobs.
I don't think they would be full time at National League level. They were National League North last season.
Yeah, and then they definitely wouldn't. They definitely would have second jobs at that point. So maybe they still do. So I think it's hard for them to compete physically with professional Premier League players, especially when it gets to the last half an hour. Then they'll be running on empty, and that's where you use your physicality and stamina to basically get the better of you. So I wouldn't be surprised first half an hour. You were watching this game, we're like, oh my God, they're actually giving us a bit of a game here and making things a bit difficult. I've seen a few clips. They've got a guy who's got an absolute monster of a long throw, Rory Delap-esque, and that's clearly going to be a tactic for them. Get some early throws and just launch it in. We know Brandon Austin, if he starts, he was quite good at coming for crosses. In the Newcastle game, he's going to have to use that. But they're definitely going to try and bully us a bit or ruffle a few feathers from these throw-ins, 100%. But if you just ride out that, first 20 minutes or so, half an hour, or even if you just make sure that they don't, if they are going to put some early pressure on us or going to try and really go for it in that first half an hour, you ride through it, you make sure they don't get any sort of advantage or any goals or anything like that, and then you should be okay. I think the physicality should take its toll after that.
Yeah, and it's going to be a difficult one on a 3G. I always hate playing on a 3G pitch, and the risk of injury is always higher when playing on a pitch like that. But
are they still on 3G, not 4G or 5G?
It might be a 4G pitch, but I read it's 3G pitch.
Bloody hell, that's like...
It's 3G, I heard Ange say it.
3G, that's like Power League 10 years ago.
Yeah, with the black rubber things.
Bloody hell, even Power League's moved on from that.
So at half time, they're going to have to empty their boots and get all the black shit out of it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And said it that, that's gone into his thinking in terms of selection when it comes because of the pitch. He does want to bring players back from injury to play on that kind of pitch. And maybe he's thinking anyone who's got any sort of struggles or anything, he just doesn't want to risk it when it comes to playing on that pitch.
Brian Daigle here in the comments was quite an interesting comment. Let's bring this one up. Where is it? He says he was watching a podcast with Joe and Ashley Cole along with Teddy Sheringham. They interviewed the Tamworth captain, and he's a property surveyor, and mentioned that the pitch is on a slope as well.
Well, they on a slope.
It's like the Underhill, the old Underhill. But
yeah, I used to play on Sunday League pitch was on a slope as well. So it's always when you're going uphill, it's never a good sign. So I don't know if we want to be going uphill first half or second half.
Yeah, like when Yang Min Hyuk signed for Spurs, I bet he never thought he would be making. He'd probably going onto the pitch tomorrow. Like, what the hell is this? I thought I was coming to play in this massive 60,000 seater stadium. It'll be unbelievable. I'd love to see Yang Min Hyuk play tomorrow. On Sunday.
Yeah, I want to see him too. I've got a feeling, I don't know, I just got a weird feeling that he might go a bit stronger than we expect. But I really hope he gives everyone as much rest as possible. But as well, I think he is right in what he was saying in his press conference. You don't want to go into this team thinking, rest everyone and it's going to be easy and you could be on the end of a massive shock. You kind of, maybe it's a case of get the game won as early as possible, then make the changes rather than go into this thinking, we're going to make a series of changes and we're going to find a disjointed performance and all of a sudden a couple of throw-ins go in and then you're under the cosh all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, if they score early from a long throw-in, it could get a bit
dicey.
Yeah, it feels like, I know there's a place in the next round to gain, but it just feels like in a game like this, there's just so much to lose and not a lot to gain.
Yeah, and we just got to get through to the next round. We've been a good cup team this year so far. Still in the League Cup, first leg advantage in the semi-final. Europa League, we've got a couple of games more, but good shot at that top 8. Now it's time for us to go on a cup run in the FA Cup as well. And, if we keep going in all these cups, I know the league position is bad, but hopefully that will kind of make up for it if we can have some really good cup runs, and that's what we've got to try and do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, it's a big opportunity for Spurs to get some rest in some of the players' legs this weekend, and also, obviously, a massive opportunity to get into the 4th round of the FA Cup. I think the draw is going to be over the weekend or on a Monday. So, yeah, we just got to hope that our players come through unscathed. We don't take the game lightly and we get the job done, hopefully early, so we can take some players off. But yeah, it's going to be a momentous and a massive occasion for the whole town of Tamworth, the football club, and everyone involved, really. I did see that ticket prices for this game for Tamworth, they quadrupled it just for this game, which I felt like that was a bit not great for the Tamworth fans,
Well, they got to make the most of it, don't they?
The club do, but I mean, you're getting TV revenue money. You're going to get ticket sales anyway.
Yeah, but this isn't like Daniel Levy, where if you put the prices up, the money you make compared to what you earn generally is insignificant. This is very significant.
It is, but I mean, they're making a lot of money regardless of putting up the ticket prices by 20
every
quid.
penny. They literally need every penny. It really matters to these teams. If you can get a revenue for this game, if it's possible for you to quadruple your revenue, that can make a material difference to the actual wealth of the club. Compared to someone like Spurs, where if Levy increases the prices like he does by £10 or whatever it is, 30 quid for every ticket, it's not going to make that much difference to Tottenham. Yeah, I might get more, an extra, let's say, million or whatever. But that for Tottenham, that's not a lot of money. That doesn't really help them too much. For them, if they can get a few extra thousand, that could be the difference between between anything for them. It makes a material difference. And look, you can say it's not nice, but I think for Tamworth, they've got to kind of squeeze every penny they can out of this tie, because they're going to be their biggest money spinner for the year. Let's be honest. This is their bigger. This is their time. This is the time to do it. So
I do wonder, if they could have made the game or changed the game for it to be hosted at Tottenham and still be acted as a home tie for Tamworth, because you can imagine the money they could have made in that way.
That'd be amazing. I mean, I don't know if that's part of the rules, but.
Because there has been occasions in the past where grounds have been really small and they've moved it to the closest big stadium, and they didn't obviously do that here, but there has been kind of exceptions like that in the past.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would have made an even bigger difference.
100%. But they want to play at their home stadium. They want to.
I don't know if it's still possible, if you can still do that, but it has been. People have done it in the past, but. Look, it's going to be an interesting game. We'll be on the watch along on Sunday, 12:30 kickoff. What is your score prediction?
I am going to go for. What am I going to go for? I'm going to go for 4-0.
4-0?
4-0.
Yang going to score?
You get an assist.
No goal?
No goal.
I'm gonna go for. I think I'm going to go for Spurs to concede. I'm going to go for 6-1 Spurs.
6-1.
6-1, and Yang Min-hyuk is going to score in his debut, and Will Lancashire will get a couple as well. And Mikey Moore. Don't forget Mikey Moore, because he's going to get on the score sheet as well. But yeah, very much looking forward to the game. Come and join us on Sunday just before 12:30, and